Welcome to Write That Down, a Probetus podcast. I didn't say that last time. I just said Write That Down, season 1, something. But it is a Probetus podcast. We have a couple podcasts now, and this is Write That Down, a Probetus podcast. I would like to welcome you all to the show. I am your host, Matt Fisher. To my left is my co-host, Phil Irwin. There's a head nod. And across from me is my other co-host, Mark Jensen. And then to my right is one of our newest co-hosts, Chrissy Lund. Welcome, Chrissy. Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Phil. Thank you. How's everybody doing today? Who would like to say how they're doing? I'm very overwhelmed today. This is like my 7th thing in a row, so I'm assuming things are gonna go awesome. How about you, Phil? How are you today?
I'm doing all right.
Actually, I'm coming back to me. I'm actually upset today. Cut my life into pieces.
This is my last resort.
Suffocation, no breathing. And we'll stop there.
Don't really care.
Yeah, we don't really care. So Phil and I were actually supposed to have a wonderful evening at the Allaire Center. And we won't say anything negative about that evening or who we were maybe going to see.
I'll say something negative.
Oh, okay.
Here's the deal. Concert's canceled. There's bad weather in Denver. And here's what happened. The bands, the tour manager, the people in charge said, hey, guys, we got Grand Forks coming up. Lame. Let's reschedule our Denver show for the day that we're supposed to play Grand Forks, and they'll just deal with it. And that's what they did to us, and I'm upset. I've waited since 1999 when Infest by Papa Roach came out. I've not seen them live, and now my opportunity, locally anyway, is gone.
So that's how Phil's dealing with it. The way I'm dealing with it is I got a letter from the county saying that I'm on a new board, and they didn't call or email. So actually, I think they did, but I didn't get it. Anyways.
Is that the letter that's on your floor?
Oh, no. We can talk about why I have letters on my floor another time. But I have a county planning and zoning committee meeting tonight. So shout out to the planning and zoning committee in Grand Forks County.
Sounds like a wild night.
Yeah, super wild. Chrissy, how are you doing?
Off.
Yeah.
I'm doing good.
Great.
Busy weekend. Looking forward to warmer weather.
You had a busy weekend?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Camper shows every weekend.
Nice.
I know. And so now my children are itching to go camping.
Yeah.
So I have bags packed around my house, waiting for, 70 some days before our first trip.
Very fun.
Yeah.
How about you, Mark?
I'm having a wonderful day.
Yeah, good.
Wonderful day.
Super. I would expect nothing less from Mark Jensen. Always happy and always looking for a good time. So awesome. Well, we'll get right into it for the quote today. And this time the quote's going to be a little different because the quote started with Phil, and then I think I just finished his thought or a thought that Phil was having. And then it was a kind of a looked at each other in that way and like, yep, we're going to need to write that down. So Phil, why don't you start?
This one I really had to struggle to recall what it was all about. And so I'm just going to make something up. But we're having some sort of discussion.
Well, no, let's do the quote first.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to say it?
Well, you said it first, right?
I said, Matt, you can't eat knowledge.
Or can you? Question mark. All right, so that's a quote, right? All right, so Phil said, you can't eat knowledge, and Matt said, or can you? And then Phil thought about that.
I'm sure I stared blankly into space as you told me to write it down and still didn't know why. But yeah, I don't recall what this one was about at all.
Well, obviously it happened, right? Because it's in your brown notebook.
Yeah.
So you don't have a guess, not even like...
It was early on because we're only on to page 2 of the quotes from Write This Down. So this would have been
like
year and a half, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so at that time, me and Mark were still pretty new at Probetus. And so we were learning new things all the time. And
oh, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to trigger. Okay, so maybe it was like I was just filling your guys' head with so much stuff. And you're like, Matt, you can't eat knowledge. And then I'm looking at you and I'm like, or can you?
Yeah.
All right. I think that sounds fair and probably plausible. Something that I would say in reason. What do you think, Christy? Do you think that sounds plausible?
I will quote somebody in the industry who used to always say the new girl curve in this industry is a lot longer than any other industry.
Right. Well, what do you mean by that? What?
There's so much to learn that you can't possibly learn it right away. It takes a little bit longer to learn this industry than maybe any other job, than like maybe bank telling. Or,
Sure. Okay.
It's expansive. I will
It
echo
is.
that.
All right. And so when Phil says you can't eat knowledge, and that's now I'm going to put that spin on it, and he's kind of glaring at me, and I'm even going to go so far as to say Mark is sitting there probably glaring at me as well, even though he's always happy. At this point, he's like, you can't eat knowledge, and I'm like, hey, we've got to lower this level of anger right now, guys, and just say it. I just
This
need
aggression will not stand.
Yes, I just need to say something like, or can you? And then walk away. I probably just walked away and let you think about that while you wrote it down.
Yeah.
Because I probably, now that we're really talking and thinking about it, this was not a mutual thing that we were talking. I don't think it was a good time. I think this was a negative time in our relationship.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I think for the remainder of the discussion, we'll have to get philosophical with this one because I don't have a story.
All right. Well, I like the story that we're creating right now. Mark, would you like to add any more to that story that we're creating?
All this talk about eating, I'm hungry. Can we have some ice cream?
Oh, we do get to have ice cream today. The Prometheus team's been growing like crazy, and we've got a little social here after our podcast with a couple of our new team members, Val and Eric, and we're all going to get together, all those in the Grand Forks area, and gonna have some ice cream. So,
I have a thought related to the quote.
oh, please.
So, you can't literally eat knowledge. Why are
Oh,
you?
sorry, I muted
Why are
you.
you muting me?
That was a
You
complete
can't.
accident.
That's a sign. No. Guess what? And now, leaving the podcast is
Moving
Phil.
on.
I'm moving on. And now, next week's
Did you want me to
podcast
stop?
will be
No,
Matt, Mark, and
I
Chrissy.
thought I was muting myself, so obviously, but it kind of worked.
I'll get it out there, and then you guys can talk amongst yourselves. But so you can't literally eat knowledge in the consumption sense. But if you think about eating as a metaphor, like typically you'll eat each day, most people. You have, divide the meals up into 3 different parts. And so you're taking these small portions and you're working at it, and it's a daily thing. So maybe that's the metaphor we should really glean from this. When you're learning a new skill, when you're learning a new technique, whatever it is, you've got to keep at it daily, cut it up into smaller pieces, and then over time, you become super ripped with knowledge.
Well, I have a question then.
Please.
Can you consume too much knowledge?
Yes.
Like food,
Oh.
calories, sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Like, maybe ignorance truly is bliss sometimes.
Is there like a knowledge, what do they call it? Metabolism? Like,
Holy smokes.
I do think there's things that you learned maybe in your life that you wish you didn't know.
Well, I've heard that, sometimes people will get, even like with academics and all that, they read and they get so knowledgeable that they actually kind of like fry their brain. They're so almost over smart.
Like book smart versus street smart.
Yeah, that's a case. I've heard of that, where people just sit there and they want to absorb information after information, knowledge and knowledge.
And then you can't even talk to them anymore.
No.
have you guys
So that, I'm sure that's happened to me.
have you guys seen
Oh,
the
Mark.
the latest Indiana Jones Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? It's terrible. It's like the worst. Like the first couple movies are all like, they do the voodoo thing, they do some of the religious, legend, that sort of thing, and then they go full aliens
Oh.
for the latest. But it's a joke in my household because at the end of this movie, spoiler,
Wow.
should I do it?
I
Okay, it's important.
Do it.
So at the end of
people
this
need to know.
movie, they pick up the stupid alien skull, and all of the knowledge over the eons goes rushing into this guy who's holding it, and he literally dies of knowledge. And it's the
So-
stupidest ending ever.
Like over.
Yeah. So
load.
Suzanne and I always joke. We'll grab our heads and we'll say, too much knowledge, and we'll just run out of the room if we're not prepared for whatever's happening. And so go see the movie. It's terrible. Even with the motorcycle chase.
This has turned into the weirdest movie review talk
But I'm
about
trying to
knowledge
say-
and told the end of the movie. So, I mean,
Too much knowledge. It's possible. Just ask Indiana Jones.
all right,
Clearly.
clearly. All right. Well, I appreciate your idea of like, but so you're saying we're going to look at knowledge as just gaining something, and it can be done well or poorly, right?
Correct.
Too much, too little, not enough,
Or
not the
wrong.
right kind,
What
or
if it's
wrong.
wrong?
Yeah, they're wrong. Can knowledge be wrong?
I would say, yeah. I mean, just like you can answer a test question wrong.
But is that really knowledge then?
That's really deep.
Hey, Phil wanted us to go deep. I tried to mute him, and then I said,
Then
"Oh,
he
it was an
started-
accident. It was an accident, Phil."
Then it turned
And
into a movie review.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And now we're deep. So knowledge. I guess the question that's out to the group is knowledge. What did I ask you? Can
knowledge
it-
be wrong?
can
can
be
knowledge
wrong.
be wrong?
Yeah, you can know incorrect things.
That is true.
Absolutely.
Wow. So okay.
Like math. You can do it wrong.
Holy smokes. Okay. Phil, you first. You can know incorrect things,
Correct.
and that's a form of knowledge.
So I'll use an example as a way
Please.
to explain it. So let's say that you learn to play an instrument and you're playing a chord, let's say a guitar. Let's say you're at the Papa Roach concert and they're playing
Which
a
I will not
G.
be at.
They're playing a G. So here we go. I play the G with 4 fingers, but there's also a way to play it with 3 fingers. Or you could play a note that is not part of the chord, and all of a sudden you have a dissonant note. Let's say when I was learning that chord, I learned wrong, or let's say I was taught wrong. And then for years, I went about thinking, wow, this sounds goofy, but this is how I was taught. I know that this is G, the chord. And then I found out years later, nope, you're playing it wrong. So it was knowledge that I had, but then I had to correct it later on and adjust it to the proper form of G.
Okay, so what I'm hearing Phil say, knowledge is relative, is what you're saying, because it's something. No, and that's. I think that's the way that people view knowledge. It's like if I know it and I believe it, then it's knowledge, until it's
Yes.
not. Chrissy, you go.
That's the basic premises of science. We do an experiment, you get an answer, and then someone else comes along and says, one of your factors was wrong. Let's do the experiment again and a whole nother answer. Science.
Yeah.
All right,
Evolving.
so
knowledge.
Okay, so knowledge is, so it's relative, but it's also changing.
It can be.
It's also, it kind of sounds like maybe consensus based as well, because, to Phil, that's a G, but to every other person who plays guitar and learned it a different way, it's not G.
Yeah, maybe that was a bad example.
Well,
Because there are many
I was
ways.
kind of following it.
Yeah. I'm just saying if you insert the wrong note into the G chord, it then becomes wrong. Even if half of it is right, a portion of it is not right, and now you got to throw out the whole thing.
All right. So we've gone.
Or just call it jazz.
I've got the camera on Mark here. Back to me now, and then Mark. We've gone real deep. Now, Mark, you can either take us. This is like a challenge. You can either take us deeper, or you can bring us out of the depths into something more casual and not deep. And I'm good with whatever. Go.
How about we talk about ice cream?
Oh,
Yeah.
he has ice
All
cream
right.
on the brain.
You can eat ice cream.
Okay.
Is
So
that-
we've gone as
do you
deep as we
freeze?
can with knowledge.
If you eat ice cream too fast and you get a brain freeze, does that mean you're freezing some of your knowledge?
Ooh. Okay.
I have theories about brain freeze.
Give it.
All
Give them
right,
to us.
I want to.
Well,
Yes, please.
there's 4 people in my house. 2 of us eat ice cream rapidly to get brain freeze. And the 2 that get brain freeze also run very hot temperature wise. And so I think the cold and the hot fight. And the 2 of us who are maybe always a little chilly just eat ice cream like nobody's business.
Okay, so I believe there's something to be said about being warm-blooded and the way your body heats and cools. Now we're into science because you brought up science, and I get that. And then Mark says something about ice cream and cold and knowledge and brain freeze. I kind of like where you're going there. So our brain, do you get knowledge from your brain? And if so, will a brain freeze affect that? Go, Mark Jensen.
Well, let's see. So you're asking if we get knowledge from the brain, if a brain freezes? I'd probably say yeah.
So
I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to phone a friend. And my friend is Matt Fisher. I'd like to phone my friend Matt Fisher.
all right. that was from that millionaire show, right? Where you phoned a friend. And then sometimes it was like a complete bust. Or like, sorry, Jimmy.
Yep.
I don't know what the capital of
I always
Australia
loved
is.
when the friend was like not a trivia buff. And he's like, why did you put me down on the list? Like,
There's 7 billion people on planet Earth, and you picked
you called me?
All right, so you're phoning me whether or not knowledge and the brain freeze thing. I'm going to say yes, knowledge can be stifled through a brain freeze because you're focusing so much on pain and something that is outside of your just comfort. And you guys have had that, right? If you've had any type of pain anywhere, it's like that's what you're focused on, and you can't really focus on anything else, especially learning something.
Yeah.
So
Pain is the learning tool, though. Like you think about, hey, that hurts. I want to avoid that in the future. So truly, like your senses, the experiential part of that instantly causes you to remember. Don't do that again, or figure out why it happened and to avoid that in the future.
So, with the brain freeze thing, I feel like when you have one of those, what are they, Misty floats or Misties from
Mr.
Dairy
Misty.
Queen? Yeah, I call them Mr. Misties.
Can
And
I vent about Dairy Queen changing the name of that drink 3 or 4 times?
They changed
well,
it.
yeah, but let me make my point here first.
We'll go back.
Okay. When I would drink out of it way too fast and get my brain freeze, what was my learning there? Not to drink Misty floats or Misties. And why
Go
did I say
slower.
float? And most
Slow
people don't
down.
have float. Slow
You
down.
learned slow down.
And now that's a life lesson, right?
Absolutely.
It's like touching a hot pan. You don't do it again.
No, you don't.
Or you just touch it a lot slower. It's like, wait, this isn't working.
But if you do get a brain freeze, you're supposed to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Press your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and that's supposed to help.
Okay, I've heard that. Any other tips on brain freezes?
I don't get brain freeze.
Yes, we've already established here
eat. Eat ice cream.
I've heard if you put your finger in your mouth, then it get rid of the brain freeze because your finger is probably warmer than the inside of your mouth, so it warms the inside of your mouth. I also have a trick for hiccups as well. But any other brain freeze tricks?
Nope, but I have
All
some for hiccups too.
No.
All right, well, let's transition this conversation from knowledge to food, as Mark Jensen so eloquently tried to do with ice cream. We could start with ice cream, I guess. If you were to say, this is my favorite ice cream, and the way I like to look at favorite ice cream is like and I say this to my kids all the time, it's like you get one thing the rest of your life, and that's the only thing that you get to eat. That is going to be your favorite, because even your favorite thing you're going to get sick of, but this is the thing that you're going to cling on to as long as you can. What is your favorite ice cream, Chrissy?
Chocolate.
Straight up chocolate?
Straight up. No fanciness. Just straight up traditional chocolate.
Follow up, why?
From my childhood, probably. Okay, do you remember the chocolate chip, though, when we were kids? They were tiny, tiny, tiny little chocolate chips?
Yes, I believe they still...
Do they still make that?
Well, they still make tiny chocolate chips. I don't know if they make the specific chocolate ice cream with the tiny...
No, the
So-
chocolate didn't have the tiny chocolate chips. That was vanilla.
Oh, so you added the chocolate chips to the...
No, you
No,
bought
you're-
it that way.
You're missing this completely, Matt.
Well,
It's
I thought we
vanilla
were...
ice cream
His
with
brain
small
is
chocolate chips in
frozen.
it. And it comes that way.
Oh.
Yeah, but I haven't
Oh.
seen it since I was a
So
kid.
it's not chocolate ice cream.
No, my favorite is chocolate.
See, you could see how I'm confused. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to the video. And
I
I'm
gotta
gonna be
read your-
This is where Matt got confused. It's not like this is a deep thing trying to read Matt's brain. Like you can see the hamster wheel going. Like that was when he got confused. So all right, Mark Jensen, chocolate for Chrissy. All right, Mark Jensen.
Well, just on a little side note before I give my flavor, did you know I was the ice cream kid model for Bridgman?
No.
Growing
Like
up.
in commercials?
Yeah, just in my newspaper back home when I was a kid.
That's
Do you
awesome.
have one?
Huh?
Do you have one?
A commercial?
No, a framed
framed.
picture.
Probably in one of our scrapbooks.
Oh,
You
Yep,
gotta
they
talk
have
to your
big
mom about that to see if
that bridge,
Local celebrity.
I
Yeah,
remember
local celebrity saw-
Bridgman milk.
because we had the little Bridgman shop. So we got the fresh ice cream. But I would have to I had to pick one. See, I like so many flavors. But if I was just down to one, I'd probably have to go, like I said, with the chocolate myself. I love
wow.
chocolate.
Okay, all of the ice creams on planet Earth, we've got 2 chocolates out of. I mean, that's 50% of the group here.
Or can I ask, are we allowed to have we pick an ice cream because then I could pick vanilla if I can have other toppings.
Oh, toppings weren't mentioned.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
no.
if toppings are mentioned, then I'll go with vanilla because then I can have chocolate on top. Then I can have caramel, which I like. I can have strawberries, which I like. I can have rhubarb. So I'm going to
Versatility.
go with vanilla and all the toppings.
Okay.
I don't have to give up.
All right. So that's cheating, but that's fine. All right. How about you, Phil?
Moose tracks
Okay.
all day, every day.
So is Moose Tracks a thing that is like specific to a brand, or is Moose Tracks like Rocky Road, where it's
It's-
like
yeah.
there's 50 brands and they all
It's
have
become like a ubiquitous flavor. Like I think the people that invented it, it's called Denali Moose Tracks. I think it's like Dean's or something like that. But like everybody has a version. But essentially, Moose Tracks is small Reese's peanut butter cups, ribbons of fudge,
okay.
and then some swirls of
All right.
caramel.
Very interesting.
It's awesome. But I'm all about the fudge. Like peanut butter's fine, but it can get really overpowering in ice cream. Moose Tracks is not overpowering peanut butter, but the ribbons of fudge is what I'm seeking when I'm digging in the ice cream.
Very cool.
Good.
I would have to say in the game of favorite ice creams, it would be strawberry. I've always been a strawberry ice cream fan. I feel like if I were to pick a specific type of strawberry, it'd be the one that have the big chunks in it. I don't like just a little bit of strawberry. I don't like, maybe a little flake. I want to have the full on strawberry. And if I were to like have my ultimate, it'd be like to go to a place that would have strawberry ice cream and put fresh strawberries in it, mix it together so the strawberries kind of harden a little bit. And so strawberry is my way to go.
Fancy.
So we
Is that fancy?
Yeah.
Sounds fancy.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, strawberries are only in season
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, I suppose.
we-
Mark sounded fancy because he picked any ice cream on planet Earth, right?
He went with versatility.
Oh, yes, he did.
So we were at the grocery store last year, and I have several children, and they're always asking like, "Hey, can we try this? Can we try that?" And my wife totally caved to my second youngest daughter. They had a mermaid flavored ice cream.
Oh, boy.
It looked terrible.
That could
It
go a couple different
sounds
ways.
terrible. And I'm thinking,
Yes.
like, I remember Superman ice cream. So you have multiple colors, but the flavor is just vanilla. Like, it has no extra flavor. Like, the colors don't correspond to what's going on. So I was expecting some super bland, nasty, whatever. And so somehow I ended up with, a couple days later, a scoop of this mermaid ice cream. I was cleaning up somebody's plate, and it blew my mind.
Like,
Had various flavors. Like you could tell that there was like berry and different flavors that corresponded to the colors of the swirl. And I did not expect that. Because usually when you market to kids, you're like, make it look flashy and it doesn't have to be good because they don't care.
yeah,
But
it's got
this-
a bland flavor of sugar.
Yeah. This had a couple levels. It was flashy. It had the fun name, picture of the mermaid on the outside. And it actually tasted like there was some variety in there. Did
Awesome.
not see it coming.
And it sounds good, but still not your favorite.
No.
Moose Tracks.
I
Moose
would not.
Tracks.
I would not purchase again. 2
Okay.
stars. No.
And we're reviewing again. Well, on that, I feel like we are good to call it a week, and wanted to thank you all for watching and listening, and find us at all the various places we can be, and check us out anytime at Probetus. You can check us out at probetuspromo.com. So again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.